Few things are for sure in this life, but this is. If we live for any substantial amount of time, we will encounter grief due to the loss of a loved one. Not something any of us ever want, and we all handle it differently. This podcast is to feature those who have done purposeful and meaningful things through their grief. These people featured on here are normal folks, just like you and me, who were thrust into a place they never wanted to be in their lives. A painful place. As they move through their pain, they realize that something worthwhile, something for the greater good, could come out of the unthinkable. I'm sure that none of them would ever consider themselves to be a hero, but when I searched the definition of the word hero, I found this: a person who is admired or idolized for courage, outstanding achievements, or noble qualities. And that fit. And so it's my privilege to bring you the remarkable stories of these heroes in grief. Hi, everyone. This is Tom, your host for the Heroes in Grief podcast, and the response has been incredible so far, and I want to thank you for that. It's getting out to people, and they're letting us know that it's helping them, and that is what it's all about. I want to make you aware of a way that you can support this podcast without having to spend 1 cent, and that is through affiliate marketing. I've set up affiliate marketing for online shopping. If you do online shopping, then I have links to all the major retailers, most of them anyways, and I can provide them for you so that when you buy online through those links, you'll help support the podcast through the percentages that we get. It doesn't cost you anything more. You just shop like you regularly would on the sites that you love. It's very easy. All you have to do is shop. And that's it. Just let me know the links to the places that you want to shop at, and I will provide the affiliate links so that you can do it. If you want more information on this, you can go to heroesingrief.com. It takes you to the Linktree page where a video explains it in a little more detail. But you can always email me at tom@heroesingrief.com, and I can answer questions for you. But you can support the podcast that way, and it's very easy, very simple, and it doesn't cost you a cent. Isn't that great? Thank you. Now here's today's episode. So, Trunnis, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Trunnis and I got acquainted through Get Griefy magazine, was it first, right? Was it through that?
Yes, it was. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Kara Sanchez, she actually was the second podcast that I did. Kara was on there, and she was just starting things with the magazine and everything. So she's really got rolling with that now. And excuse me, we formed a little partnership where I advertise her magazine on the podcast here. So, but it's going fantastic. Everybody should check out Get Griefy magazine. It's an awesome resource out there, and it's free online, so you can check it out there. And I'll have the link to that. It's always in my in the show notes. So, Trunnis, you're doing a lot of cool stuff, and we want to hear all about it, what you're doing. So, why don't you go ahead and fill us in? What's happening?
Well, thank you very much for having me on your podcast. I really appreciate it. I also one thing that we do share, other than the bond that we have through Kara, is the bond that we have that we're both Western New Yorkers. And that's one thing that I am very proud of. I don't live in Buffalo anymore, but I do love it, and it'll always be my home. So that is one bond we definitely share. So
you'll be happy you're not up here right now. It's freezing up here right now.
Yeah, I've seen the television, and I obviously have Facebook friends and stuff like that. And yes, I am glad to be down here in North Carolina. Now, I will say this right now, it is cold to North Carolina standards. I actually did have to brush a little bit of snow off the car this morning, taking my grandson to school. But yeah, and I when I mean a little bit of snow, I mean a little bit of snow. I could do it with my hand. I didn't need a brush at all. So
yeah, we spent 2 hours with the snowblower yesterday clearing out the driveway.
I can only imagine
7 inches or so that we got here overnight. So
I can only imagine. But yeah, and our bond also goes. I do know that you're going to be a writer in my book, Friends and Family Lost. It is a great book that we have. It is actually it is I would say it's volume 2 to my book, Stories of Children Lost, that came out in October of this past year. Again, Kara had a lot to do with it. She's actually going to be a writer in that she's actually going to share her story in the book that you're going to be in as well.
Hmm. Nice.
The reason why I wrote this book was because back in 2015, I lost my daughter to a homicide. Um, it was 2 days before Father's Day. I'll never forget on Father's Day of 2015, while everybody was eating their bratwurst and stuff like that, me and my daughter's mother were sitting at my kitchen table, literally planning my daughter's funeral on
Oh my
Father's Day.
gosh.
I will never forget that. It was a very painful thing. The act of losing a child it's unnatural. Obviously, you share that with me, Tom, as well,
Hmm.
unfortunately. But what the reason why I did it is the first book, I was lost, Tom. I mean, I was out there. I mean, I was emotionally, physically, I was extremely sick. I was having horrible dreams, not sleeping, you name it. I did not, I'm a guy, and guys, we just don't get help. We should, but we don't.
Yeah.
And I didn't do it. And so years went by, and I really faked it. I faked the whole thing. Trying to, I just faked life. I have to go to work. I have to do this. I have to do that. I have to raise my family. I have to do all these different things. And then pretty soon, eventually, I got out of it, and I got out of it through exercise. And that was my thing. I'd have, and I'm going to tell you, I'm a father who lost a daughter, and fathers who love their daughters would do far more for their daughters for far less. And what I mean by that is, I lost my daughter. I mean, have you ever seen, like, I don't want to go out with this girl because the dad will kill me type deal? I mean, well, now think about where I was as a father. And so, in order to let out these feelings, and these were very complicated feelings, Tom.
Hmm.
They were messed up. They were. I don't want to get into that part, but I just started working out. I started working out quite a bit, and it really helped. I'll never forget. I went to a doctor, my own doctor, back when I was living in Indianapolis, and I was like, I can't sleep, I can't do this, I can't. I'm depressed. I'm having literally the grief actually caused hallucinations.
Hmm.
Okay,
Wow.
and so the doctor says, hey, writes this script on a piece of paper. He says, I'm going to give you this. And I remember looking at the doctor, and I have that Western New York wit, right? And this is exactly what I said to the guy. I said, "Is this going to bring my daughter back?"
Hmm.
And he looked at me like, you
Didn't know
know,
what to
and it was a
say.
it was a couple minutes of silence there. I knew the answer. He knew the answer.
Yeah.
Okay. I said, if it's not going to bring my daughter back, that means once this drug wears off, I'm still going to have the same feelings I have right now. Nothing gets solved. I just went and I started this massive workout regimen. Started playing hockey, and just skating it off, burning it off, riding my bike 20, 30, 40, 50 miles at a time. Just things like that. And it seemed to help, especially the bike rides and the hockey, because during hockey, I would be with other people, and for an hour and a half or so, I wasn't a father, I wasn't anything. I was just a hockey player that played poorly with other people, right? And it was a good time. When I was on the bike rides, I would go out, and I mean, I would go miles and miles and miles, and I would just start thinking. I'd have music on or something like that. I will tell you right now, do not ride bikes with me. I'm the most unhealthy bike rider in the world. I do not wear a helmet, and I wear headphones, and one day it's just not good. So I'm not the safest rider in the world, but it does help me, and it did help me quite a bit. So anyway, once I got into this point where I saw clarity, um, a friend of mine came up to me and said, "Hey, I have a friend that lost his son. Could you talk to him?" And I would never want anybody to go through what I went through, during that
Right.
time. I just don't. I mean, mentally, it's just bad on you. So I said, yeah, I'll talk to the guy, not a problem. We sat down and started talking, and I said, and we got the elephant out of the room, and we were drinking coffee and stuff like that. And I said, so how did you lose your son? And I remember I lost my daughter to a homicide. He came up to me and said, I lost my son to a suicide.
Hmm.
And when he said that, I had no response. I was like, I'm so sorry. And what I wanted to say, and I didn't say this, but I can't help you. And the reason why I couldn't help you is him at that, or I felt like I couldn't help him at the time, is because his pain, his questions are far different than the questions that I had.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
My daughter was killed breaking up a fight. She was coming home the next day. She was always a very happy individual and all these other things. And that was great. And that really it just it gave it hurt me because I couldn't help him. At least not the way I wanted to. Now he said, "Thank you for all the thank you for the time you spent," and he was real happy. But I do not feel in my heart of hearts that he um, was any better off talking to me. Maybe he was because he found somebody that he could talk to. Okay, but I don't think he was any better off than he was when he left. So years went by, and I ended up getting a book deal. I wrote the book The Four P's of You, which had nothing to do with children to death or anything like that. It just talks about the four P's: purpose, planning, passion, and persistence. And it's more of a book to help you plan and get yourself prepared.
Hmm.
But what rested on me always was the conversation I had at that coffee shop years ago. And so what I did now, since I had access to a publisher, I had a book that was relatively successful. I said I can use my connections to start a movement to help other individuals. And I started the Stories of franchise. And the first book that I wanted to come out with was Stories of Children's Loss. And the story of children lost, I literally went throughout the country and I found, and with Kara's help, I do want to say that, but I found parents throughout the country that lost their child in different ways, to suicide, to accident, to drowning, to homicide. And what I did was they were brave enough to share their story. And this is a book where, when my daughter passed away, I'll never forget the Indianapolis Police Department. All they did was they said, "Can you identify your daughter?" I identified her, unfortunately, and then they gave me this brochure with like the 12 stages of grief, and then they said, "Have a good day." That
Hmm.
happens to everyone. Okay,
Hmm.
that just didn't happen to me. I'm not saying they singled me out. They didn't. They just give you this brochure and they call it a day. You go to the funeral home, you plan the funeral, and then they give you a business card of somebody to talk to, and you never use that card. And so what I want is, this is a book where if you lost a child, you're not going to read this book right away. You're just not. I mean, it took me years. The back of my daughter's announcement, the death,
Yeah. Yep.
the thing that you get. There was a poem on the back called "Let Me Go," and I read the first two sentences of it, and I was like, okay, this is what we're going to put into it. And do you know, I did not read that thing until probably maybe about a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
I did
Totally
not
believe
read that
that.
thing. Okay, I
I've
just
done the
didn't.
same. Yeah, I did the
Yeah,
same with a lot of people sent me music, actually songs, and because I'm a musician, and
yeah,
I never listened to any of them. I wouldn't listen to one
no.
of them, and I
And it
still
took me a
haven't.
long time.
There's like one that I listened to, and I really did like it, but
Yeah,
yeah, it's tough.
it's hard to read. It's hard to do. And but with this book, this is a book that's in your hand. This is a book that, if you did lose your child to certain, that you just put the bookmark in there and say, here, when you're ready to read this, read this. This is a parent out there that can help you. This is a parent that literally shares your grief almost word for word. You should read this story. At the back of the book, there are resources for you to go to. I didn't go online. I don't know if you did, Tom. Did you go online to see where can I get help? No, you probably sat for a minute, didn't you?
Yeah.
Um,
I'm
but
I'm a little different. No, I was totally into it. I sought out everything I
good.
could, actually, yeah.
Excellent. I did not, and I should have. I really should have. And so, but in the back of the book, there are resources for you to read. And then, like I said, the volume two, the book that you're going to be in, we're going to do the same thing, but we are actually going to. It's going to be a little bit more. Um, uh, we're going to broaden it a little bit because people who've lost spouses and things like that, they need a voice as well, and they need help as well, and that's what this book is for. This book is a resource of healing.
Mhm. Hello, friends. I just wanted to take a brief break here in the podcast to make you aware of a very exciting partnership that Heroes in Grief has just formed, and that is with Get Griefy Magazine. I'm going to let their founder and editor-in-chief, Kara Sanchez, tell you all about it.
Hey, Heroes in Grief listeners! Life after loss isn't easy, but it can be colorful and full of possibilities. Meet Get Griefy Magazine, a vibrant resource filled with inspiring stories of life after loss, expert advice, and voices from everyday grievers and thought leaders. Together, they're here to help guide you toward the side of life that's left to be lived fully and authentically. Dive into Get Griefy for free on issue or snag a print copy on Amazon. Connect with us on Instagram at Get Griefy Magazine or visit getgriefymagazine.com to explore, join our thriving small business collective, or discover advertising opportunities. Let's embrace life after loss, boldly and together.
And now back to our episode. See, now you asked about seeking out the resources, and because I gravitate to that, that's how I look to things, examine things online and all of that. So I did find what I found was David Kessler's grief.com. He has a Tender Hearts group on there. It's an online Zoom group of peers, of people who have
Mhm.
lost loved ones. It's not just children, it's everybody. And so he has it 4 times a week in different formats, a 4 hour or an hour session each time. And I was in that religiously, like I was around the people. I didn't
Wow.
participate all the time or whatever, but and that's where this podcast came from, and what you're doing. It's the same thing too. Is that different people's stories, for whatever reason, it's not the same circumstances, but I found something in all those stories. Most of those stories, every time I'd hear a different story of someone losing someone, and there'd be something that was brought out during that I could relate to, help me get my foothold back on. Like you said, you're so lost out there, and just being around them helped me. Hearing the stories, and so with the podcast, that's it. We tell the stories, and then people have done amazing things with their grief, like you are. And so that's to elevate those things too and get them out there. But yeah, it's powerful. The stories, they don't have to be the same circumstances all the time. It can just be, because not everyone's situation is different. But
Right.
but yeah, there's something to get out of it all the time, or how they react to it, or something that maybe we didn't realize in ourselves that we see in that person, or how they go through it or whatever. And that really helps things.
It does. It really does. I know that when we first started working on the book with the other authors, I didn't know any of them, and now we are almost a family.
Mm-hmm.
We're always interacting and talking to each other and being around each other. We're always there to support each other in their causes. There's an individual out of well, it happened. The death happened in the Chicagoland area on the Indiana side. Her son was playing basketball and had a heart attack.
Hmm.
And that happens a lot, unfortunately, but it could be avoided if they had. I mean, the I shouldn't say avoided. I should say the instance of death could be reduced if there were defibrillators at
Yeah.
gyms and parks and stuff. And so she started a movement where they're putting defibrillators in the Chicagoland area, and now she lives in the Napa Valley in California, and they're doing that. Well, we were having a meeting because our book is actually going to be an audiobook. So we were going to have an audiobook meeting here last week. And she said, I'm sorry, I cannot make this meeting because Michael's movement, Michael's miracle, the defibrillator, actually saved a kid in California, and they are going to do a presentation where I guess she was getting recognized, and the foundation was getting recognized for saving someone's life.
Wow.
Um,
Incredible.
and so, and that is incredible. And that's what I want this to be. I mean, even the book that we have, I mean, the book, yes, I mean, the book is designed to make money like any other book, but we are helping. We're going to be in Buffalo, New York on March 13th, and we are partnering with a grief group where hopefully the money that we raise at this event on the 13th of March, this event, the money that we have will go towards helping individuals through their grief. I want, a lot of people who, and I'm not going against health insurance companies and things like that, but sickness, physical health is always treated. You know what I mean? They're like, if someone tells you right now, hey, you have cancer, like, oh my God, I'm sorry. Is there anything I can do for you? But if I sit there and say, hey, I'm suffering from clinical depression, like, oh, okay, well, hey, good luck to you. You know what I mean? It's horrible how that works. And it's funny that we do that psychologically, and we do that in the cultural sense, in the sense, but even in the financial sense, that's how insurance companies deal too. If you have cancer or you have something wrong with you, that way we have medicine, we have treatment, we have state of the art everything. We're going to take care of you, and you know what? Not only are we going to take care of you with this state of the art stuff, our insurance is probably going to cover 100% of the costs.
Hmm.
But if you have something wrong mentally, and the same thing is not done. So what I want this event to do is to help in helping people, go through what they're going through and help them with counselors. And whatever insurance doesn't pay or doesn't pay at all, hopefully there's going to be enough money raised that will help them, and at least subsidize some of that cost. So
That's
that's
great.
what we like to do. Mhm.
Fantastic. Yeah. You're putting it right into purpose, and that's fantastic. So you also had one out for the military members, didn't you? Didn't you do a
I
book
do.
for them?
I do. Stories of veterans in their transition from military to civilian life. Um, I was a Navy veteran. Again, this is something where the United States military, they will spend years training you to be the state of the art fighting machine. Okay. And that's not just in combat and things like that. That's, we have some of the smartest computer technicians. We have some of the best doctors, some of the best lawyers, some of the best, all of these things that come out of the military. And they spend years turning you into what you need to be in the United States military. When you get out of the military, okay, different story. 2 weeks, you got a class you go to. In the Navy, they called it, I don't know. Somebody told me they call it something different now, but they call it TAPS class, right? And transition something, whatever. But anyway, it was called TAPS class. And I went to that class. 2 weeks. They teach you how to write a resume. They literally give you a suit. It's almost like getting out of prison. They give you a suit and they say, you're on your way. Have a good day, right? Well, the transition is horrible because you're not ready for what's out here.
Hmm.
They don't tell you the fact that even psychologically, before, if I walked and got gas and I was in my Navy uniform, thank you for your service. Oh my gosh, let me buy you a drink, all this other stuff. And then when you come out and you're wearing a hoodie and some blue jeans, and no one knows who the hell you are. So as a point, you're just like, wow, you feel that, and you're not, but you feel like you're nobody. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? You go from this super duper, everybody knows your name hero to just somebody who's getting gasoline. And that's a psychological transition that you have to go through. The fact that they don't talk to you about money. I was making $72,000 a year in the United States Navy back in the early 2000s. That was great money.
Yeah.
So what did I say? Hey, I need to make $72,000 a year when I walk out of the United States Navy, because I need to make the same amount of money, right? And I ended up finding a job to make the same amount of money, but I was bringing home less because not all your money's taxed.
Yep.
So then you're like, uh-oh, I tell people, everybody knows that there's three things that you're issued when you get out of the United States military. You are issued a DD 214, you are issued a divorce decree, and a bankruptcy discharge. Those are
Wow.
but those are almost three things that are guaranteed to you. And so, what I want this book to do is, I want them to, again, this book is just like my other stories it's there to help in your transition and give you a realistic view. And I had some soldiers and sailors in that book that really did give a great, and again, they were very brave. To share their stories and help other people.
It's crazy. There's a lot happening, a lot of good things happening, resources like you're bringing forth, like we're trying to do, in the grief circles and everything. And there is a good network out there. There really is. And we're making some strides in some areas, but yours is just another example of things that you stated about how sad our society is in dealing with grief and the other things you talked about. But yeah, the 3 to 5 days off of work and then come back and you're supposed to be normal, right? And you're supposed to function normally. You lose a child, you're not normal for a long time, if ever again. And so, yeah, the first 3 months I was just in a zone, like not functioning. I worked for myself, so I was very fortunate that I didn't have to do anything really. In fact, Judy said to me, she's like, when she went back to work after a month or so, she goes, "What are you going to do here during the day? Like, are you just going to sit there? Am I going to find you up in his room? Are you, all this stuff." And I didn't know. I'm like, well, I'm just going to keep doing my grief stuff, like trying to get better. You're just a zombie, and
Right.
So our society, I have real passion about trying to educate and normalize the grief conversation, and get it out there because all of us deal with it. I think we should be educated on it way before we encounter it the way that we do in life. And as you go on through life, you're going to encounter it more and more and more and more. So, it's just astounding to me that we don't even bring it up to like children and things like that to help them understand what they're going to face. You can't help them to feel how they're going to feel, but I mean, they certainly could be educated better on what's going to happen or how to handle it, how you see it around you, everything else. Then the conversation could be normalized some, so I think that could be done in wellness programs. It could be done in the schools, everything. But yeah, it's really bad that, some of these things are stigmatized so bad, and similar things like you talk about with the military and everything. Thank you for your sacrifice. I don't say service, it's a sacrifice. And I'm very, very sorry about the loss of your daughter. What is her name?
My daughter's name was Kayla Noel Goggins.
Kayla.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. So now you said that, so you got 2 books out so far in this realm, right?
Right.
What do you do otherwise? Where are those other books coming from? What's that all about and everything?
So I have a book deal with DMP Publishing where we are doing a stories of segment, a stories of series. Okay, and these are stories of, again, all of these books go towards a couple things. Number one, they're going to help nonprofits in those areas, grief, military, this, that, and the other. And then the other thing is it gives a voice to people who probably wouldn't be able to have a voice otherwise to express what happened or what is happening. So I have stories of children lost, which came out in October, and then right after that, immediately after that, was stories of veterans, and those came out in 2024. 2025, we have this volume 2 of the stories of loss, and then that will be coming out in April of 25, and then in September, this is Recovery Month, alcohol addiction recovery month, is September. We're actually going to have a book called Stories of Transgressions and Recovery. And that is going to be a book that is going to help people. We have a huge drug problem, alcohol problem. addiction problem, just substance abuse in general problem in the in the world. I wanted to say United States, but in the world, we do have worldwide authors in this. This is actually we have authors from Australia, we have an author from the UK, we have an author from Canada, and we have authors from the United States that are writing in that book. And this book is not only for people who've recovered. I have one story, and I shouldn't share this story, but I am because I think it's such a great story. This woman got arrested for dealing methamphetamine. She was not arrested. It was not a state case. What she was doing in the ring that she was involved in was so broad that it was a federal case. Okay.
Hmm.
So she ended up doing federal time in federal prison. And federal prison is not like state prison. You do all of your time. Okay. And she did it all. She came out. She was a meth addict. She had all of these, she was a dealer and all that other stuff. She came out and she started working. When she came out of prison, she started working at Dairy Queen. Okay. Today, the same jail, I should say, that held her while she was getting ready to go to federal court for her trial, is the same prison that she now works at as a drug counselor.
Hmm.
So she is going in there and she is talking to inmates that have drug addiction problems, and she is showing them that's a better way. I am it's a privilege to have her in the book. So she's going to be a part of this book. And then there are going to be some other stories. We have two more books coming out in 26, and we have two more books coming out in 27, and then finally in 28. It may go on before, but we're dealing with all different issues, and all these issues are here to give people who are going through something that is painful, whatever it may be, give them hope that there are people that do recover, either mentally or financially or whatever, and they move on to live great lives, and they want to make sure that you live those lives as well.
Mm-hmm. Now, you told me we were talking before, and you said that the distribution of these books, your picture for this, the way that you'd like things to go, or things could go. You talked when you're coming to Western New York here, you're interested in local organizations, you said.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I'm familiar with Western New York Heroes here, and I'm going to put you in touch with them for the military book. How do these organizations, why don't you paint the picture for them? And you did mention it a little bit, but
Mhm.
what would they do with these books? How can they obtain them? What could they do with them? What is your vision for these organizations, what they would do with these books?
If they partner with us, what we are going to do is we are going to allow them to have a special link for their book, which they will be able to give to their constituents, people who benefit with them. And if they sell the book from that link, they will get some of the proceeds directly from the sale of the book. So they get that directly, and they can do whatever they want with the book, with the proceeds. The other thing that we do is when we have these book events, we make sure that you come into the event. The events are free, but we do ask for a donation. Okay, and you donate, like for example, if you want to donate to Western New York Heroes, you can donate to Western New York Heroes. If you want to donate to our grief non for profit, you can donate to them as well. We have a couple of grief non-for-profits. That's why I said our grief non-for-profit. So I'm not sure which one is going to be the premier partner, but we'll find out then. Then at that point, that's they can do whatever they need to do with the money. That link for the book sale is always going to be live. So if someone buys a book from that link, they always will get proceeds from the book. So it's a great way to just generate money for that. And another thing is we're going to be promoting as far as the 4Ps and stories of, we're going to be promoting their non-for-profit as well.
Great. Now, do you have a website for all of this, or how is that handled?
We are now, because this is a brand new thing, we are building the website. The website will be up. Hopefully the website this is as of this recording, it should be up by March 1st.
Mm-hmm. And what is it going to be called? What is the whole thing called, actually?
Stories of.
Stories of.
Stories of, yes. Stories of series. And then we'll have a nonprofit link for it as well.
Mm-hmm. Do the organizations, they purchase the books ahead of time? Are they at a How's that handled?
They can purchase the books ahead of time and have the books at their disposal. But also, like I said, they can have the link, and if the constituents want to buy the book directly off the link, they can do that as well.
Okay. Yeah, because it
Mhm.
might be better for some in hand, right? To give them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah.
Mhm.
Is there a discounted rate for those books or anything,
Oh
or how's
yes,
that handled?
yes, there is. There's definitely a discounted rate if they're buying. If they're buying in bulk like that, we would give them a very substantial discount for that, so they can make sure that they can make the money they need to off the books.
So if they were to sell them then locally like that, then they just keep those proceeds. Does any go to you? Is
Absolutely.
there a,
Nope. Once they buy the book, they keep the proceeds.
okay. All right. Just trying to
Mhm.
clarify it for folks out there and everything.
Mhm.
Amazing. Trunnis, fantastic stuff. Incredible. This is what I love about what I gained through the podcast is that to find out so many amazing ways that people are keeping the legacy alive of their loved one and through what they're doing. And I did want to talk to you too about the things you were experiencing and what helped you in that grief. Through the last two podcasts, it's come up about how grief actually affects us physically and changes
Mhm.
us physically in our minds and everything. Different enzymes are lost or connectors or whatever. And so we suffer these physical things that actually happen to us. And by you exercising and doing that, it helps raise the endorphin levels and then brings you back into some balance and all of that and everything.
It does.
Yeah.
It
So
does. If I do not exercise, and I am being very honest with you, if I do not exercise, I am actually I actually can almost fall into a funk. I
mhm.
don't want to say depression. I do want to say a funk. Um, I had to get, I'm 54, so when I was 50, I had to get rotator cuff surgery. And without me sounding like a nut, my brother David Goggins is a nut as well. He runs and does all this other stuff, but I try not to be as nutty as he is, but I am in a sense. I learned how to absolutely do my complete workout routine in a rotator cuff, the sling. So I was actually doing so now it was my left arm was the one that had to get fixed. It was my right. So I was literally doing one-handed push-ups. I was doing all the different curls and everything like that I had to do just to make sure I was doing, I found another routine because it really was, I was really getting kind of, just depressed. And then, but it does help. It really does help. If you just sit and that energy just eats at you, it really does.
Yeah. The universe, I'm listening to you telling me to get
Mhm.
back to the gym because I've been out of it for a little while now. I was, lifelong. I've always worked out and done stuff and everything. And I just been on a real skid lately and I got to get back to it for sure. But so I
I
appreciate
will say
that.
you're welcome. But one thing you don't want to do is look forward to Buffalo Sabres games.
No,
Uh,
that's for sure. You got to throw the digs in there, don't you? We're supposed
yeah,
to go to
well,
one
I
together.
love them. I love one. We're going to go to one together, and I love the Sabres. But I will tell you right now, I go. But I will say this: during this 17-year drought, or it hasn't been. No, it hasn't been that long. It's been a long time,
14 or
at
something,
least
maybe.
14, something like that. It's been
Yeah.
a long time. But during this drought, my sons and I have been to. We go to a game a year. Okay, so my sons and I go to a game a year. And since that drought, we've only been I cannot believe this. When I tell you this, you're not going to believe it. Any game that we've gone to, now we've gone to games in Nashville, Tennessee, Columbus, Ohio, Detroit, Michigan, Buffalo, and we went to Toronto.
Mm,
Okay?
enemy
Right?
territory.
That was enemy territory, and I didn't know if we were going to make it out alive. But we only, out of all the games, we've probably been to maybe 13, 14 games. They've only lost one.
Mm, you're a good luck
So
charm.
maybe we should just buy season tickets and go to all 82 games
Yeah,
every
we got to
year.
see you in the
Yeah,
seats.
and maybe, maybe I bet we've only paid for one game where they've lost, that they've lost. And that was a game where it was against Columbus that they lost. Yeah.
Hmm.
But
Yep.
yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. By the way, I'm going to show you this. This is the cup I drink out of every morning.
Well, I gotta show you this. This is the cup I drink out of too. Well, you can't see it. There you
There it
go.
is. There it is.
Yeah, that's pretty
So
awesome. There you go.
this is Jeff's cup actually. So we had coffee every
That's
morning
awesome.
together, and so I sip there and there.
That's beautiful.
But yeah, I protect that cup. I have a Bills cup too, but when he passed, I said I'm going to be drinking out of that cup every morning, and I do, and it's nice.
Do you know it's funny that you bring that up about that cup. I have a sweater that I wear twice a year, if that. It's a polo sweater, okay? That and it was the last gift my daughter bought me for Christmas.
mm,
I wear it twice a year. Now, my daughter, I co-signed for her car, and she was living on her own at the time. And she comes in on Christmas with this gift, and it's in polo is expensive. And she's like, here, Dad. She was really sweet and gave me this polo sweater, and I looked at it, it was a beautiful sweater. It's green, and I said, "Oh, this is a beautiful sweater." And my next question to her was, "Do you have enough money to pay your car payment?"
so we have some
But just like
parallels
you,
there, parallels because
yeah.
Jeff bought me this fantastic. Our garage is all made up. We have flat screens in there. We have two flat screens, and it's our sports sitting room, and everything. So we
Mhm.
have this Bills wall of everything that Judy's done a fantastic job putting everything up there. And so Jeff bought me, it was a Christmas and Father's Day present. And it's a Bills insignia. And it's big. It's probably about this big actually. And it has like the colored glass over it, the right colors, and it's wood handcrafted like the Bills logo and has the stripe through it and everything. And then the glass is the blue and the red, and there's
Mhm.
lighting in it. So it's a beautifully lit light, and it sits right in the middle of our wall of everything. And he bought me that, and actually I co-signed for his vehicle as well. He bought a Jeep Cherokee, and I co-signed for that. So we still have that car, by the way. Judy
Yeah.
uses it. So yeah, so a lot of parallels there.
It's very funny. I will say that you know, they weren't your son and my daughter. They weren't here for a long period of time, but what they leave behind are memories that we are going to take, with us to our graves.
Yeah.
There's not a day that goes by that I would not want her to be here. I would love for her to be here. But the years that I had with her, I wouldn't trade them for anything. I
Yeah, I
really
had
wouldn't.
2.5 precious years before Jeff passed, where he came to us to live with us, and so I was with him every day, and
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time just sitting and talking to him because we had a time where we were estranged before that, actually, for about 5 years, and so it's such treasured time that has occurred, and you can look at that as very hard to take too, but I look at it as a treasured experience
Absolutely.
that I was able to have. And I really fond memories of all of that, always will. And,
Yeah.
so it's awesome. Yeah. Hmm. So you're coming up, you said in March, and
Yes.
where's that going to be, that event?
It's on Kensington. I can tell you the address. I just don't know the name of the building. It's at 1515 Kensington Avenue. And it is in Buffalo. It is at the Center of Peace. I think that's what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
If I know correctly, that's the name of the building. But yes, and it will be at that building, and that's where we're going to be doing the hall. I think it sits about 150 people. So hope everybody, hope we fill it up to the point to where it's standing room only, and I have to walk outside and shake people's hands when it's done. But it is definitely there. It's an event to talk about the books, Stories of Children Lost and Stories of Veteran. It's also a soft release of the book that you're going to be involved in. And we're going to be talking about that. We are going to have people again, we're going to bring attention to the nonprofits to help them, talk about what they do and how they do it. And that's what it's going to be. It's going to be a great celebration. And I'm looking forward to it.
I definitely have some other things to talk to you about off the air here about organizations up here that I think that you should contact about all of this for sure.
Absolutely.
Some pretty great organizations. So
Absolutely.
I got in touch with some of the grief circles up here. So there's a lot of things that could benefit from what you're offering there for sure.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Just hopefully I just don't want it to be like negative, whatever you guys are dealing with right now in March. Because it's cold.
It is. Got about 17 today. Like I said, we got, what is it, tomorrow? It's going to be 14 high, and there's going to be strong winds. And they said the wind chill will get down to about minus 20.
My son is a huge soccer fan. And on that Saturday, so 2 days after the event, there is the Toronto FC. They're playing the Chicago Fire. So I have tickets to the Toronto game that Saturday afternoon. And so they play at BMO Field, which is right on Lake Ontario. Okay. I mean, like it is right on the lake. And I'm like, oh my God, please warm up. Please just warm up. He's going to be fine. But I'm like, come on. I do not want to sit in that open field and that just right on the lake, and watching a soccer game. So it is going to be brutal.
I'm very familiar with that lake breeze, so to say.
Oh yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, we got a lot of snow too. You got anything else that you want to share with anybody, or with everybody, I should say?
No, I mean, no. I think I shared what we're doing right now. I do know that if you do want to get the books ahead of time, you can get any of my books on Amazon. You can get them on Barnes. You can get it at Barnes and Noble. I do know that the Barnes and Noble, speaking of Buffalo, and I don't know how local your podcast is. I know it has a very wide reach, but if you go to the Barnes and Noble over on Transit Road, you can get my books. Just go in there and buy them, and say hello to Alexis. She's an awesome individual who makes sure that my books are always there. But yeah, so I'll that's our reach there in Buffalo, New York. Yeah, that's what I have.
All right. Well, the links that you're talking about, we can get into the show notes for sure too. So everybody can contact everything there for sure too. So, All right, Trunnis, thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate it and sharing your incredible work with everybody. And when the book comes out, I'm going to let everybody know about that for sure too. You're the first one to let everybody here know about the fact that I'm going to be in that book. So I hadn't got it out there yet, but looking forward to it.
I'm sorry, but I will say I am very excited for your story. And if you don't mind, and I know that we're about ready to wrap up, but I do want to say this. Your story is so important to share because it's becoming all too common now. And it is an important story to share with everybody. I know that you said sorry for my loss, but absolutely sorry for your loss. But it definitely needs to be shared to the world. And it's an honor to have you a part of this book and sharing it. It takes a level of bravery to even be a part of this book that a lot of people don't understand. And I appreciate that.
Thank you. And you're speaking of the fentanyl crisis and that situation, of course, I'm sure. Yep.
Yes.
So, all right, Trunnis, thanks so much. And we're going to take a little time and talk on your podcast too, which is going to be awesome. What's the name of your podcast?
It's called the 4 Ps Podcast with Trunnis Goggins II.
All right.
Because if everybody in Buffalo knows my dad, Trunnis Goggins the first, so I always put the second at the end of mine, Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So we'll get that link on there too, so everyone can listen to your podcast. So sounds good.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for the time, Trunnis. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you for listening to the Heroes in Grief podcast. If you'd like access to any of the links that we discussed in today's show, you can find them in the show notes. There's also a link there to support the podcast if you care to. And there is an email link for me there. I'd love to hear from you and your ideas about the show or what you thought about the show. You really can help out this podcast to get to more people if you subscribe, rate, or review it in whichever way your platform provides. Each week, Heroes in Grief is released on Sunday, so look for new episodes there. Thank you again for listening to Heroes in Grief.